John Hyre here, showing you why Roth is infinitely better than taxable investing. It's more than you know. Let's skip to the conclusion. You see a spreadsheet in front of you that will demonstrate my point, but let's start with my point. If you invest $100,000 at 19%, which for private equity is a very realistic return. I've seen people do considerably better by playing various legal games, leveraging the money, etc. But let's just go with a 19% return, $100,000 over 20 years. What happens? If you do this taxable at 35%, which is a pretty low rate, I mean, if we're looking at top rates in California, just with income tax, we're at 50%. Throw in Social Security tax, and we're even above that. But here's the point. At the end of 20 years of investing at 19%, you continue to invest at 19%, but now you take the income, and let's just say for 25 years, but it could be longer, it could be shorter. How long are you going to live? We don't know. If you do this in a taxable fashion, you're taxed at 35%. Take a look at column F. You make $126,803 per year if you invested taxable. If you invest the exact same amount, 100,000, at the exact same rate of return, 19%, but you do it in a Roth style account, whether a Roth IRA, a Robs, a 401k, a health savings account, a Coverdell educational savings account, anything that behaves like a Roth, where the money comes out tax-free. Take a look at column J, 616,159 per year. Same investment, same exact investment. What was the one difference? When we're taxed at 35%, we end up with 127 grand per year income. When we do it tax-free, we end up with 616,000 per year. That's a 5x difference in terms of outcome. So hopefully I have your attention. Hopefully you see that Roth is important, and we should not delay, we should not procrastinate, we should not come up with excuses such as, well, I can't touch the money. Well, most of the time when you invest money, it's put aside. You're not living on it, right? You have a certain amount you live on. I don't expect anyone to put that in a Roth. And then you start to invest. I'm just talking about where you invest it, which vehicle you use. And I'm telling you, Roth is the vehicle. It makes a 5x difference in the outcome. Let's walk through the spreadsheet because seeing is believing. I've got math here. You can review it, and you can also play with it. The orange are fill in the blanks. If you don't like my return rate of 19%, you think you can do better, or you don't think you'll do that well, change it. If you can invest more, and I think you can, this is a really modest number. I have clients who put $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 per year into retirement accounts. I'm talking about 100,000 one time, not 100,000 per year, much less some much larger number. And finally, there's the tax rate, 35%. Now, for some of you, especially my high income earners, especially if you live in unfriendly places like California, your rate is probably higher. And for some of you, it may be lower. That's fine. You do you. That's why I colored these orange so you know what to fill in. Let's take a look at the math and the logic. I put an age here, age 41. That was arbitrary. I just made it up. If you don't like that age, go ahead and put in one that works for you. Our starting cash, $100,000. Profit, well, 100,000 times 19%. Then if you look at the formula there on the top of the screen, it works. 100,000 times 19% is an annual return of 19,000. But it is taxed. Tax on profit is 35% of 19,000. That's 6,650. So what do you have at the end of the year? 112,350. Now take a look at the beginning of year 2. There's your starting balance. It's the same as the ending balance for the prior year, 112,350. You make 19% on that, which in this case is 21,347. You pay 35% on that, which is 7,471. And you end up with starting balance plus income minus taxes, 126,225. And so on. You can check my math. I've checked it a million times. I'd be shocked if you find something wrong. We go to the Roth column. Same starting cash, 100,000. Same profit, 19,000. But no taxes. So the year-end balance, 119,000. In year two, our starting balance is 119,000. 19% of that is 22,610. Our ending balance is 141,610, and so on. You can follow these line by line. You can check the formulas. Here's what happens after 20 years. You start with 100 grand, investing at 19%. At the end of 20 years, taxable, you have $1,026,742. If you're non-taxable, you have $3,242,942. Way more, way more. Let's go to tab 2. Now we decide at the end of year 20, we're going to invest the same, all this money, this balance, we're going to invest it at the same 19% rate. Now, if you think your rate's going to change, great. Here's the orange box. Put your rate in there to get your numbers. I'm going to assume I can continue to invest passively at 19%. In fact, that's a number that's near and dear to me. I've invested a reasonably large amount into a hard money fund that gives me that kind of return. And so that's why I happen to pick that number. It's a passive investment, and I can continue to plow more money into it. In any event, take a look at cell C7, your starting point. Now we're just taking income. So if I'm taxable, how much money do I have to invest at 19%? 1,026,742. Let's go back to tab 1 and check. Yep, 1,026,742. And on the Roth side, how much are we starting with? 3,242,942. Let's go back and make sure it's right. Yep, our final number here in K26 is 3,242,942. So I got our numbers right. So we're investing in the taxable scenario, 1 million at 19%. We're bringing in about 195 a year. We're taxed at 35%. And again, if you think it's a different tax rate, great, fill in your rate. Subtracting taxes, we're pulling 126,803 per year if we are investing the same exact money in the same exact way, but it's taxable at 35%. If we go over here to the right, we're starting with a lot more in the Roth because taxes did not take away our money or our earning power. It did not destroy our compounding. So we're starting with 3.2 million. Our net cash per year is 616,000 because we don't have to deduct anything for taxes. Now, if you compare, well, let's take a look. 6,016, actually I can just go to the cell. 616 divided by 126. Yeah, we're just shy of 5x. We're at 4.85 times our earnings based on non-taxable versus taxable. So the whole point here is to demonstrate to you the power of Roth. It makes a big difference to invest in Roth. I know it can be a pain. There are rules, there are hoops you have to jump through, but pulling nearly a 5x return on exactly the same investment. You have 5x the income after 20 years on exactly the same investment, with the only difference being you chose to invest in a Roth or a Roth-like account. I wanted to get your attention to how powerful it is. Is there hassle? Yes. Is it worth it? For 5x the income? I think so. And especially if you're going to go big on this. Instead of 100 grand, let's do 100 grand per year, or 200 or 300 per year. Couple of other quick points here, some other tabs I've got for you. I did a net present value calculation. What's the net present value of $126,803 per year, starting in 20 years, continuing for 25 years? Net present value of that is 1.4 mil, or if you want to be technical, 1,370,734. What's the net present value of doing Roth? Well, for Roth, after 20 years and going for 25 years, we're pulling 616. What's the value of that cash flow? 6,660,665. So the net present value difference is 5 million. It's a $5 million net present value difference choosing Roth over taxable. Finally, one little tab I put here for the engineers, and it basically says, engineers, we love you, except when we don't. We love that you build things that function, like airplanes that don't crash and we don't die. That's really cool. We don't like when you get into irrelevant details and waste our time. Engineers, please read and listen to this tab before you send me emails on Lord knows what picayune details you can come up with. Bottom line, Roth, 5 times better than not Roth. Please do Roth. Feel free to play with the spreadsheet. Feel free to share it with anyone you know. Hopefully it's useful to them and to you. Take care.